Ladies and gentlemen, this is White Lightning 777 with some thoughts on the CCE, Chinese coronavirus 19. The example, the sheer stupidity of socialism, communism, has manifested itself in a way that heretofore has almost never been seen in world history. But they're not really, by the way, they're not communists. Mao Zedong was a communist. He killed more people than Hitler and Stalin combined, nationalized everything, put collective farms in, wrecked the economy, and engaged in that. After Nixon went to China, Deng Xiaoping took over. And he implemented something called communism with Chinese characteristics. And what were those characteristics? Well, you know, crony capitalism, businesses that steal anything, that sell anything that's not nailed down, hell, that sell organs from political prisoners to rich Westerners for cash, steal patents, anything else. They're the ultimate capitalists. I mean, it's to the point where only the drug cartels are as bad, but they're a hell of a lot less creative. And they also have a government that is more concerned with losing face than losing lives. Had these people simply said, hey, we have a disease, they don't even have to admit whether it got out of one of their mad science labs or whether it got out of a market. They simply had to say, listen, we have a dangerous disease. Here's the sequence, we need help. If they had done this in a timely manner, 95% of the cases around the world could have been prevented. They don't have to admit whether it was made in the lab, just to tell the truth. They didn't do that. This level of incompetence, wanton disregard for human life, and reckless endangerment of the entire planet is prima facie evidence that is both necessary and sufficient, far more than sufficient, evidence beyond any reasonable doubt that the Communist Fascist Party of China is unfit for rule. See, these Chinese characteristics were basically, they said, look, we'll keep the hammer and sickle, but you know, this communist economic bullshit doesn't work. We need to have fascism. And fascism is pretty stable. I mean, look at the Roman Empire. I mean, you can have a fascist government if you make the trains run on time. And the powers kept on, yeah, really, you know, human rights are a little bit more optional than we may like to think. In other words, they're, you know, left to their own devices, they're not going to go away. Their behavior, they're not going to go away. Their behavior is not going to improve. And they will continue engaging in predatory, reckless practices that threaten the entire world. These idiots allowed a terror to be unleashed, accidentally or on purpose, who cares why, on 140 countries. The sun never sets on the Chinese coronavirus. Never. I mean, we had, you know, we fought wars with the Nazis. I mean, they probably wanted to take over the world, but even they never came up with anything stupid enough to infect the entire world population. I mean, the Soviet Union pointed nukes at the entire world, set off the largest nuke in the world in the middle of nowhere. They devastated some areas and killed a lot of their own people, but they never infected everyone. And here's the implications of Corona-19. They're kind of third world countries. I mean, India is sort of a third world country. They're making progress out of it. Countries in Africa, countries in South America, they're third world countries. They don't have the medical infrastructure. They don't have the ventilators. They don't have the people trained to protect themselves from this plague. And there's no way they're going to get it. And even if we ship them enough vaccines and enough pills, they don't have the roads. They don't have the trained personnel. when this thing, not if, but when this thing hits their country, it is going to go through their population like wildfire. Their populations are, underfed, and they are going to wipe out tens of millions of people. If in the United States we didn't do anything about this, 2.2 million to 1.6 million of our people are going to be wiped out. As it is, with the social distancing and so on, and maybe, if we quickly get the the malaria drug and the Z-Pack combination, we're pretty sure, there's a 75-80% chance that can mitigate or cure the symptoms. I mean, they have prototype vaccines, they're not tested, but let's face it, if you took Pfizer, Johnson & Johnson's vaccine, Israel's variant of the vaccine, and the Roche's version, and a few other versions of these vaccines, shake and baked them, put them in needles, and gave them to people at low doses, as a practical matter, the population would sort of kind of be vaccinated against this. Maybe not complete, but you could probably cut the fatalities down, to 100 to 100,000 or so, even if you lived with the social distancing. The Chinese Communist or Fascist Communist Party has shut down the entire world economy. And all these countries that were third world countries that are clawing their way out, not anymore. Those countries sell products to first world countries and use that money to get out of where their situation is. The economic harm that these idiots have done is worse than the Great Depression. I mean, put it this way. What would you do to a country that set off a suitcase nuke in your country and wiped out 100,000 people, only they did this in 100 countries? Okay? Look at it this way. Maybe they were building them and maybe they were stupid and somebody stole them and they just went and set them off. What consequence needs to ensue? What punishment needs to be inflicted? I submit it's very simple. A lot of the countries in the world have nuclear weapons. America has them, Russia has them, India has them, Pakistan has them, NATO has them, the Israelis have them, but they got them on the down low. They have them, sort of. Who care? North Korea has them, but I mean they're so out to lunch that it's even worth involving them in anything. And we need to, as nuclear powers and as countries, however flawed they may be, are far more responsible than the Chinese Communist Fascist Party, need to get together and give President Xi an offer he can't refuse. You can get out of power, just leave. Get out of Hong Kong, get out of Taiwan, get out of Beijing, just leave. Let the UN, let all of our countries get in, take over your government. We will implement elections. Your people will be free. They can vote. They can, have the political freedom to match their economic freedom, and the people of China can join the civilized world. We're not going to prosecute you. We're not going to do a Nuremberg trial. We're going to give you citizenship everywhere. We're going to give you and the top 100 people $1 trillion. You can live high on the hog, life of ease in any country you want. If you're such good friends with President Trump, President Xi, here's the best hotel room in Mar-a-Lago. Hell, here's the whole damn thing. Go to Hollywood, live high on the hog. Just don't ever govern another country ever again. Just get out. Scenario 1. Scenario 2, the rest of the nuclear powers of the world are going to bomb the living shit out of you and wipe you, your dirtbags, and all of the innocent bystanders anywhere by you and just wipe you off the face of the earth. And the word China will have a new translation, and that will be crater. Great Wall? Not anymore. In other words, you can get out. We can do this the easy way, or we can do this the easier way. I mean, when you have such a level of arrogance and incompetence, You're not responsible. You can't just unleash a pandemic upon 150 countries on Earth, and many of whom are utterly incapable of handling the consequences. Now, take Iran. They're a wretched, despicable theocracy that wants to essentially bring about an Islamo helter-skelter and cause a world war, kill everybody. We know that. Nevertheless, well, they ain't going to do it now. Their system is so overwhelmed that half their generals and most of their people are infected. They're burying bodies with bulldozers and ditches. I mean, at least they have enough oil to run said bulldozers. Why do you need nuclear power? Doubt it. They're overwhelmed. They can't deal with this. We have a country like Italy, fairly advanced country, a first world country, completely overwhelmed. You know, they had, you know, there was a case in Italy where a priest, an older gentleman got his ticket, got on a ventilator, gave away his place on the ventilator to a younger man. The older gentleman, I believe he might have been a priest, passed away. The younger man survived. What more proof do you need that the Communist Fascist Party of China does not have the right to rule and has forfeited its right to exist? What more proof? They came from a communist dictatorship that killed 60 million people. Read the Black Book of Communism. Bad enough. Then they figured out, you know what, communism sucks. We don't want to be broke. We want money. Okay. Now, what would you do with said money? But what? It leads to what? Cheating, lying, stealing, anything that isn't nailed down, spying everywhere, and now this. And now this. And in fact, there was even a story in the press that I believe a lab in the United States, it might have been somewhere down south, was studying a coronavirus. And apparently they were infiltrated by Chinese spies who were kicked out of the country. And I mean, you could look up the details on this. I might even put it in a little scroll underneath the video when I'm done making it, and took it back to China. And now they're blaming the United States military for this. Well, guess what? Now, if you stole the thing from a laboratory, that doesn't mean we gave it to you. In their mind, what? They stole it? What do you think? We left it there for them to steal it? Doubt that occurred. Most likely just due to, you have their unsanitary practices, or somebody eats a bat with the coronavirus and a snake with the coronavirus, and it mixes up in the body, and probably that's most likely how they got it anyway. But they're different, divergent stories of its origin. But again, no matter where it came from, the Chinese Communist Fascist Party has shown that they are unfit to rule, and that no government like them has ever been fit to rule. They need to go away. They break the whole world economy. The whole world, our economy, everything has been ruined. I mean, the Fed is printing money, $2 trillion at 0% interest rate. You know why it's a 0% interest rate? See, interest is the rent you charge for lending out money. Because the money is worthless. It's worthless. You don't give it away for free if it's worth anything. The United States is wealthy because of our natural resources, because our people have a work ethic, and because we innovate and invent things, and because of our military, we defend ourselves and the rest of the people on Earth. Our wealth comes from things other than the dollar. Investing in the dollar is just a sham. And the Chinese, through their debt and their lending practices, have played a large part in that too. Granted, we have socialist elements, aka Democrats, who are, kissing cousins to the fascist communist brethren in China that have helped the Chinese, and certainly Hunter Biden, I'm sure, has been helpful to the Chinese. I mean, Bill Clinton gave them fucking rockets. Gee, the Monica thing was fine. These people, this communist, Chinese Communist Fascist Party has forfeited its right to exist, and we need to throw their asses out. They need to go away.